against women and girl children has put sharp focus on the escalating levels of gender-based violence in the country. Violence against women and children in South Africa affects individuals from all walks of life, regardless of socioeconomic status, ethnicity, age or religion. Stats also show that South Africa's rates of homicide, rape and domestic violence are far above those of other countries. To speak to us about why this remains such a pervasive problem in the country is Karen Pillay. She's the Executive Director and Development Specialist at Mosaic, a non-profit organization focused on prevention and reducing abuse and domestic violence, especially for women and youth living in poor communities. Good afternoon, Karen, and thank you for your time on the SABC News Desk.
Thank you very much, Keshni, for having me.
Karen, this narrative of women and girls under siege really playing out strongly this week. Why is this such a persistent problem that permeates the very fabric of our society? What are some of the contributing factors we should look out for?
Okay, so if we look at the contributing factors, we can go towards structural barriers, political, economic, social barriers. But we also need to look at, this is nothing new. Violence against women has been, is always happening. It's not something new and we're not being alarmed right now. It is, women and girls have always been the #1 victims. You know, the soft target, so to speak. If I look at the cultural norms, for example, if a woman if a woman gets a divorce, she's shunned in that family. You've created you've brought disrepute to this family. So you know, you look at within the family dynamics, what are the challenges that enable women to continue to become victims of violence?
Karen, you're speaking of mentioning patriarchal attitudes and a patriarchal mindset that goes a long way to fueling such violence against women. Where does it begin? Where is the point of origin, and how do we break the cycle, which is sometimes intergenerational?
Okay, so if you look at patriarchy, it started somewhere. It's somebody placed in most homes. Men are placed as king of their castle. So whether it's a boy child, that child is given special privileges as opposed to a girl child. I mean, research has shown this, and so is society norms and practices, where men are held higher regard than women. So there isn't that equality. I think this patriarchal norms and standards kind of fuel this. And if I look at the family dynamics itself, be it the mother, be it the mother-in-law, be it the sister-in-law, whatever the circumstances are, the response and the way that the male child is given a priority over the female child kind of enhances that. And as we come into society as well, you look at the workplace environment, you look at in the home environment as well. It's considered, you know, man is the provider and woman should adhere, and you know, the power balance is so skewed. And now we have the changing dynamics of women becoming more assertive, women taking control of their own lives, becoming more empowered. And how do men deal with this? And we're seeing that violence is a method of subjugating and showing dominance over women.
Very quickly, Karen, we are running out of time. Your advice to parents and caregivers who are raising boy children, because this is where it starts to emanate. What are some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to raising young South African boy children?
Okay, so if you look at the way caregivers and parents, you know, are raising their children, there should be gender sensitivity. There should be equality. Especially caregivers, they need to be, most of the time in any home, due to the economic and social environments, women are working. So you get two parents working, or women are the main breadwinner with absentee fathers. So they placed in caregivers, in creches, and these caregivers need to be sensitized to say this, we need to, from a very young age, bring in the issues around equality, talk to children about how do you treat girls, how should boys respect and interact with girls. We were discussing this in our office, and we were saying when a girl walks by, from a very young age, a boy looks at this girl as not even a sexual object, but somebody that I can hiss at, somebody that I can, pass remarks at, and whether it's derogatory or whether it's done in a manner to incite a conversation, we need to look at those kind of practices and to see how do we sensitize boys to say, these things are wrong, the way you're doing it is wrong. And I think it's all about role modeling as well, where there are father figures in the home. You look at how does the man treat the wife or the partner, how does the male figure, how does the brother treat the sister, the father treat the daughters. So all of those role modeling, people need to be empowered to say you need to have positive role modeling in the way women are viewed, in the way young girls are viewed. Mosaic is as a program called Stepping Stones, where we get women and boys and girls to talk about gender dynamics, to think about the issues. And girls come up and say, we're not comfortable with these things, and they're able to say to the boys, when you call me such names, when you address me in this manner, or when you do this, I'm not comfortable with it. And, girls are taking agency around their bodies and saying, my body is my own. I am responsible for what I allow and what I don't allow.
Karen Pillay, thank you so much for your time on the SABC News Desk. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there for now. That was Karen Pillay, Executive Director of NGO Mosaic, joining us via Skype from the Mother City.